Welcome to 263, episode 263 of Spy Curious with Mike Evans and Casey Pine.
Hello, everybody.
People, please say hello in the chat in your first language for me. We're celebrating diversity this week. G'day, Jamie. How you going, mate? I hope you're recovering there in hospital from your shoulder injury. Hope you're better soon, mate. It's a great photo you put up this week on Facebook to share with everybody about it. Casey's got to explain something that happened last week.
Well, last week, Mike and I were having a fantastic start to our Spy Curious. We were on a roll. We felt really confident and eager to go, and lots of people were chatting in the chat. And I looked up at about I think it's about 9 minutes into the stream, and I realized that Mike had not actually made us live. So we had been chatting and hosting Spy Curious for 9 minutes, thinking that because lots of people were chatting in the chat, not realizing that people were just having a chat and were waiting for us. So yeah, we were chatting to ourselves for 9 minutes.
It wasn't a good look when we realised we were laughing so much that that's what came on when I actually turned it on. So I do apologise for being rude last week, people. We're also enjoying your company, okay? Thank you for saying hello, Amber. Thanks for saying g'day, Chris, Jamie, excuse me, Amanda, and Tracy. Great to see you, people. So what's going on with my background this week? That is really weird. Looks like someone's smoking dope in the background, but there's a reason for it. This week, if you're out and about early, like all the surveillance operatives, you will have noted you would have been in foggy areas because this week was particularly foggy. I'll give you a look. So what's the importance of it, that fog? Well, there's a really big reason I'm raising it in an investigation program so you can see it. It comes to Mike's theory of investigations. And Mike's theory of investigations goes like this. You will only ever run over a white horse in the fog. And chefs, nurses, police officers, and all the occupations that have shift work, that's how it works. So they're going to work, and in the fog where they can't see, they collide with a horse, a white one. The other thing in my theory is you only ever hit a black horse or collide with one of them in the dark. It won't happen in the fog. So keep that in mind, people. White horse in the fog is what you're going to be investigating for CTP liability and motor vehicle road accidents for shift workers who are up and about between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. because it's a constant throughout Australia, and a black horse in the dark. Thanks, Jack. Good on you, mate. That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for helping us celebrate diversity this week. It's really good. A great way to do it. It's absolutely wonderful to see. Now, a lot of people will say, okay, white horse in the fog and black horse at night. What about if you hit, g'day Marita, great to see you. What about if you hit a zebra? Well, if you hit a zebra, it just simply means that you've high on meth. So that won't happen. All right, stick with white horses and black horses because people, as investigators, that's what you are going to be investigating. This week, down in Victoria, a truckie was caught fraudulently working while he was on workers' compensation. So basically, Simon Stott, aged 57, was charged with dishonestly obtaining financial advantage by deception in Victoria, and he'd been working in other jobs while claiming workers' compensation. Now, the big issue with workers' comp is if you can't work in one place and you're being compensated for 85% of your earnings through the scheme, you can't work in another one at the same time. If you can't work, you can't work. That's it. So this guy was one of the two people down there this week that was charged in relation to that matter. Just want to see where I'm at. Great news this week on the Gold Coast, and we've featured it on this program quite a few times, is the sequel to Getting Square, Spit, its name is, starring David Wenham, is filming on the Gold Coast. Now, if you missed it, back in 2002, Getting Square came out, and it was a story about Johnny Spit and his drug addiction and getting off his drug addiction, and it goes through a whole bunch of nefarious characters on the Gold Coast, written by lawyer Chris Neist. Now, Chris in the movie had several characters in it that he sort of had met over the years and their activities. And if you're looking for a great Australian movie to watch, and it'll cost you about 50 cents, this weekend, Google Getting Square with David Wenham, and it's got Sam Worthington in it, and there's a couple of other big stars in it as well. There's one guy, he went 12 rounds with Muhammad Ali twice. Michelle, great to see you. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for saying hello. So Getting Square, if you get the opportunity to see the old one, thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. You're a great sport. G'day, Nesreen. Please say hello in your first language for us, please, Nesreen. Thanks, Michelle.
That's great.
So get on to Getting Square and watch that one first. It's a funny movie. You'll laugh. It really is well done. Sam Worthington's absolutely spectacular in it, but David Wenham's act in it. We've featured it on this program several times with David in his leopard print undies running down the street.
I saw David Wenham, the actor, about a month and a half ago. I was at the ballet in Brisbane, and I was sitting like 3 people up from him, and we had fish and chips for dinner afterwards, just because it was in this area and we were starving and we just wanted to grab some fish and chips, and he was there as well. So
get out of here.
Yeah. So
is he short?
He is short, not as short as I was expecting, but he is. Yeah, he's little.
That's the most disappointing thing about actors.
Tom Cruise. But
if you haven't said hello in your first language, please do so for us, people. That's really, really important. We're promoting diversity in investigations today. Thanks, Amanda. Good on you. Keep going. Don't stop. Every country, please. All right. So, Getting Square, great movie. Thanks, Nesreen. You're a sport. Good on you. You're a champion. That's really great. Big update on our medals. There was a mistake with an email that got lost, and our medals with the people's names on them will be here next week, and I'll show you them before I post them out so you can see them. And I've ordered 10 more, and we're going to follow right through on that. That has been a really worthwhile exercise, raising awareness about managing your stress at work. So, that's what we've been doing. And we've just had a little exercise with it, and we've awarded some. But I've got more coming, and I'm actually going to do it for other things too, so something to look forward to. But today we're focusing not so much on stress at work, but on diversity at work. One of the advantages, if you have a second language as an investigator, is it helps you to understand cultural requirements in other languages or other places. Whereas I'll blunder in and do all the wrong things. If you have an understanding of that sort of thing, that's another reason for an employer to pick up and run with you. So it's nothing about, doing something, investigating a particular niche or whatever. It's about the positive aspects you bring to the occupation in being able to understand cross-cultural issues, politeness, norms, that sort of thing that I have no idea of. So it's an advantage you've got. Maximize it, all right? So when I go to Tasmania, I know how to behave. People say, okay, what do you want? I want a statement off you. They say, okay, let's just sit a while first. So we just sit a while first. and wait for an eternity. It must go for about 3 minutes, and then I can get into it. That's cultural issue in Tasmania. So Brookside are looking for investigators in New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria. Don't miss out on that opportunity, people. APSG group down in Victoria are looking for factual investigators. If you're looking for a job, get on this Facebook group, Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation Jobs, and you'll see some of the new jobs that have come up during the week. So don't miss out on that. Say hello in the chat in your language, people. We just had Investigations UNI today. In Investigations UNI, we were looking at vicarious liability, which had some interesting moments in it. If you haven't seen it, get over there and have a look at it. If you enjoyed it, give it a like on YouTube for me, please. So what's vicarious liability? So let's have a look at it, just a quick explanation. We've got a diagram here of a principal contractor who's been awarded a contract to build a new home for a young couple. That underneath the principal contractor will be a contractor who's engaged in building it and that new home, and that contractor will organise electricians, plumbers, the aerial installers, the spa baths, the massage table, the theatre room, whatever else is required. Okay, and any one of those could end up being vicariously liable for not doing their job properly and be sued by the owners of that new building if it's faulty or something like that. So vicarious liability is there. It's an option we have for the wrong of another that affects you that you can recover it from. And you, in your investigations, will be asked when you do a workers' compensation investigation, public liability investigation, general insurance investigation, in one of the paragraphs in your report, is there any entity that can be joined into this claim? So any other entity that can be joined into this claim, have they been identified? Good on you, Shannon. Oh, thank you very much. Thanks, people. You're making this just so great. Well done. Yes, your lucky numbers this week, Jack, are 16, 12, 95.
Well, that's nice that she has a general happy disposition. Winning the lottery isn't necessarily happiness standards.
I won it last week. I got $88, so that was pretty good. I was quite pleased with that. That's enough of me waffling on. Katie, in episode 263 of Spy Curious, what have you got for us today?
I have, this was a question that was asked. I'm sorry, I've had such a crazy day that I don't quite remember who it was from, but I was, so wondering what's the site where you can look up an area and it shows how many criminal activity has happened there. It's a great site. And the site is redsuburbs.com.au. So this is fantastic. I haven't looked at it much this year, and I'm not sure I didn't see any dates there for updated information. I'm assuming it's still live. I'm assuming it's still okay. If all else fails and you need something that's a little bit more concise, you can Google crime map and then the state that you're in, and that'll bring up all different types of, it'll bring up the crime map and it'll show you all the different types of crime and like where it's more concentrated, and you'll be able to see there's robbery without a weapon, robbery with a firearm, and it's got your rates per 100,000 there. So it's pretty wild to have a look at, especially with the this one, what was that called? redsuburbs.com.au. This one will give you like an overall look at the states, and you can have a look at state versus state. So you've got your population there, you've got your incidences of theft, drug dealing and trafficking, burglary and break and enter, transport, regulation offences, disorderly and offensive conduct. And there was something, I'm quite sure it was called deception, and the deception numbers in Perth, Western Australia, were exceptionally high. So I feel like there should be a lot of fraud cases coming out of Perth, or out of WA, sorry. So it was 32,000 crimes of deception. So
that's great. Fantastic. That'll keep us working for the next 50 years. Well done, Western Australia. Thanks for stepping up. That is absolutely fantastic.
So I believe most states have their crime numbers in some kind of map like that. So you can easily Google crime rates map and then the state that you're interested in. And that'll give you a bit more of a micro view as opposed to red suburbs, which gives you like a broader overview. But thank you for asking that question. It's a great map. And especially when you're doing missing people's cases, that's where I tend to look at. It's like, what kind of crimes are the most in that area? Is it theft? Is there sex trafficking? Those kinds of things. Looking at that just gives you a little context of what kind of area that you're looking at. So fantastic resource.
Excellent. Thanks, Casey, for the update on that. And I'm sure Mr. It wasn't important then, but it is now, is very happy with your explanation. Jack's not happy because nothing happens in Margate. In deception that's reported. Yeah, that's true, man. Exactly. Very true. Okay. So there's a historical aspect to this week that I was up to my neck in, so I'm going to go through it. It's a murder investigation, and we'll just switch where I've got to be. Here we go. So in this week's investigation news, it's come out that way back in 2001, Kitayama versus Regina, that's the Queen back then. This was a murder case in the Supreme Court of Brisbane that happened on the Gold Coast. So the wife, who's in the bottom right-hand side, has murdered the husband, who's up above her. All right. And on the left of that are the police at the rubbish dump on the Gold Coast looking for his carved up body. So this is basically the backstory to this investigation. Now, complicating factors are the man that was murdered is a member or was a member of the Yakuza. So these are not nice people. What he was involved with in Japan was protection rackets against retail shops. And if you didn't pay up, you get a visit from these guys, and it was quite frightening. They don't muck around. I did an investigation on the Gold Coast, and I had to go to a retail shop there and speak to the only Australian worker there. Everyone else was Japanese. And I was saying g'day to her and all that, and got the explanation. And what had happened, she was a witness. And another Australian retail worker that was working there at the time got one of these guys, came into the shop, and he was carrying a suitcase, and all the Japanese girls, because this is 2001, nice people back in 2001 didn't have body art. And Yakuza are distinguished by their tattoos. So this wasn't a common thing back in 2000. All the Japanese retail assistants, as soon as they saw this bloke, ran out of the shop yelling, Yakuza, Yakuza, and left. So there's 2 Australian shop assistants left for this bloke. And in broken English, he sort of communicates to them that he wants to buy opals. So they show him opals, and he looks at them and he picks out these opals, and they're very expensive. He bought $180,000 worth of opals, and he counted out the cash out of his suitcase and gave it to the shop assistant. And she said, "Oh, thank you very much." And the other one was minding her own business, just watching it over in the corner. And he said, "Oh, you give good service." And he gave her $25,000 cash tip. Then he left. The girl that was watching, she couldn't handle it. She just walked out. Left the other girl. This is the one I'm interviewing. She left the other girl there. The other girl rang up her boss and said, look, this guy's just spent all this money on opals and he's giving me a $25,000 tip. What will I do? And the boss says, put it in the safe. And she said, get stuff. I quit. She put the $180,000 in the safe, kept the 25 grand.
Wow.
Well, her tip. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I'm there investigating it as a result of that. So this guy, anyway, he's a member of the Yakuza. He had no involvement in that, but they got money, they got power, and they got influence over the local people. So what the wife was accused of doing was chopping him up with a chainsaw.
That's messy.
Yeah, now very, very messy thing to do. And she's Japanese. She's also tried to hire for $84,000 another Japanese bloke, hitman, to kill her husband for her. But that didn't work out because the guy said, no, I like him. I'm not doing that. Just a bit of a downer when you're hiring a hitman. So she goes into Mitre 10 and she purchases a chainsaw. The big issue on the Gold Coast is identity with Japanese people. So the judge was really, really clear. He gave the jury comprehensive instructions on identity and how it all works. Now, the police, who were charged her with murder, they've shown the witnesses images on a photo board of Japanese women, right, and said, right, pick out which one it is. So I think they had 5 to choose. This isn't right. It's just not right because they've got a 1 in 5 chance of picking it out. And I think there was a suggestion that basically it looked like this when the police put it in front of the witnesses. Okay, so that was the suggestion, not just from the defence, but from general everywhere. Okay, so she's purchased a chainsaw. 2 staff at Mitre 10 have served her, and they've basically gone to the police and said, yep, that's the one. So they've got to go and be witnesses in the court. Now, this time, I took a workplace health and safety at the Gold Coast Institute of TAFE. The retail assistants are in my class, and they've come up to me and said, oh no, we're going to court tomorrow. Really? What about? Oh, murder investigation. I said, oh, right, you've been cross-examined before this? No, we know it was. We served it. She cut up her husband and did this and did that. Right, okay. No worries. Let me know how you go. So they went off to court as police witnesses in a murder trial up to the Brisbane Supreme Court. Now, the chainsaw was found in the house and it was unused. Absolutely not used. But there was also purchased a power saw from Mitre 10. So it's like a little power saw. It's not quite a chainsaw. They never found the power saw, but they found some brochures and some packaging or what. It was a Bosch power saw. You got the guess? That's what it said. Everybody hear that? Let me know in the chat if you heard that. So that's what's happening. Anyway, it was accepted she purchased the chainsaw. It had never been used. And one of the other witnesses was a next door neighbour who heard during the night for 2 nights in a row, next door. Never heard the chainsaw, but heard this. At the apartment where they lived, there was rubbish bags emptied into a bin that smelt like rotting meat on the Gold Coast in the tropical heat. No one opened them or looked at them. No one gave it a second thought. But his body, which has never been discovered, was suspected to have been dumped in green garbage bags, taken to the tip in a dumpster and emptied out at the Gold Coast tip. So they get into court and the two witnesses are asked to identify the person who bought the chainsaw off them. The judge pointed out that one witness identified the interpreter of the court as being the appellant in the course of the committal hearing. The judge had to remind them here about identity. The witness pointed out the court interpreter. It's the person who bought the chainsaw off them. Now, this would have been a very long, agonising.
See you, Jacob.
This would have been a very long, agonising cross-examination. Okay. Nobody, that's never been found. Never, ever been found. Now, she was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. She is still there today. It's 2024. She is still there. So she's got additional time for trying to hire the hitman for the fact that the body, she won't say where the body is. She has never, this is my diversity program, oh God, she's never learned to speak English while she's in prison. So she would be 64, 65 years old now. And there might be some kind of like support visits, I don't know. But she's still in jail today as a result of what happened there. So there are strict rules and they enforce them about IDs from photo boards and photographs. My two students didn't have a good time under cross-examination and the use of those photo boards. What police have to do is they have to have an ID parade where there are similar aged people, similar sized people, right, similar race people. You can't have, you know, one that's obvious, the person they want. So all these sort of factors came into it, but their defence actually failed. Her defence actually failed, and she's still in jail today. His passport was found in the apartment, and she said he'd gone and he flew back to Japan. There are all sorts of intricacies, but an amazing court case, and one of those ones where nobody been found. So how do you prove murder when there's nobody? I think they did there, and she's paid a very long price for it. So that's an anniversary that came up this week. I was in it vicariously, not by choice, had nothing to do with it, but just a couple of my students mentioned they were witnesses in it. All right, workers' comp complainant down in Geelong. Okay, so he was injured back in 2014, I think it was, and he's ended up in the Geelong Magistrates Court. He was a machine operator. Excuse me, this isn't the truck driver we referred to before because this only happened this week. He has to pay him back $75,000 because he kept producing fake documents to say that he couldn't go to work. And this was down in Geelong. So investigators discovered that all payments from May 2021 were based on false documents provided by him, who began receiving compensation after a lower back injury in 2014. Return to work Victoria Executive Jason Lardelli said the fraud was deeply disappointing. Injured workers relying on this scheme don't like fraud and all that sort of thing. So that was the dumbest, stupid thing anyone could ever do. Sent in fake documents in Geelong. WorkSafe headquarters in Victoria is in Geelong. The investigators only have to go outside, walk around to that clinic and go, hey, is this one of your receipts? They didn't even have to skip lunch to go and do it. They didn't have to get in the car and drive around. They just walked out the front door, a couple of doors down to the medical centre. $75,000 in a conviction. So that's the result of that this week. Our field agents are wanted by Cat B, so get over on our Australian Security Academy Facebook page and see what Kat's looking for. She's looking for all around the country. She's picked up a new client. Well done, Kat. That's great news. Kerrigan's, yeah. Morris J. Kerrigan Associates are looking for factual and surveillance operatives to do desktop investigations. Now, they don't know what desktop investigations are called. They call it online digital investigations, must be the Victorian term for it. But you can see that job on our Facebook page. NDIS looking for investigators to investigate that scheme. You hear NDIS get a really bad rap. You really do. But my wife is recently taking up horse riding, and I've been going along and watching horse riding lessons each week when they occur. I just enjoy the outing, and while she's there doing her stuff in the arena with the people that she rides with, there's a whole lot of other activities that happen at this riding school. And some of them are NDS related for therapy for people with disabilities. And you see people walk in, young people aged in their teens who obviously have really severe disabilities, and they're riding these horses, managing them themselves and doing a really good job of it and having some activity and therapy for what they're doing. So good on you, DIS. It was absolutely wonderful to see it in action. I'd never knew about it. So they do that sort of thing, and it's everybody dumps on the NDIS, but I've seen it be effective. So I'm really pleased about that. Well done, NDIS.
NDIS is amazing. It's changed people's lives. It's unfortunate that there are people out there that take advantage of such a scheme. That's just, it's a special place in hell for those people. But as we get more savvy with investigating these things and tightening the loops where they need to be tightened, the NDIS has been life-changing for so many people.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful to see. So, if you know anyone committing fraud at the NDIS, stop them in, please, or let me know. I'll certainly pass it on. No problem. Let's make sure I've got everything. You have been watching episode 263, Spy Curious. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. I think I've covered everything. Yeah, got everything there, people. Don't forget, next week I'll be announcing I'll be showing you our actual awards that we have being done up now. There was a miscommunication, they're coming. There was this job, licensed surveillance investigators are wanted in New South Wales. I think I've done that one. Yep. So keep that in mind, people. We've got job vacancies. Please say goodbye in your first language to help us celebrate our Diversity Week. Please say au revoir. Please say goodbye. Thanks, Taylor. Good on you. You're a good sport. Thanks, everybody that participated in it today. Say goodbye, please. I'll just put on our goodbye video while you're saying goodbye. Thanks, Casey.
No worries.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's our mission complete for this week. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being involved. Thanks for participating. Thanks for supporting it. We have built a supportive and powerful community through this program. Prior to this, investigations in Australia on social networking was stuff dominated by people with severe opinions and attacking other people, and safety wasn't celebrated. Diversity wasn't celebrated. People were not encouraged to grow and continue in the program. We are very pleased that we have been able to achieve that through a simple 30-minute regular Friday live stream, and your participation in that has made it what it is. Thanks, people. See you next week for episode 206. Good on you. I can't say that. We'll get you on Monday to say it for us. And if you want to know where all that came from, DJ Evan, who's one of our medal winners, he did that say hello, say goodbye thing in a conference a few years ago, and he lit up the screen with people doing that from diverse backgrounds. It was the first time I ever saw anyone ever do it, and it was just amazing how Evan did that in that conference and got people participating in the early days of Zoom or internet live streaming and teaching online. Thanks, people. See you next week.
See you next week.
This is the movie Getting Square, starring David Wenham. That's just a sequel, but look for the movie Getting Square with David Wenham, Sam Worthington, Timothy Spall, who you all saw in Harry Potter. He's in it, and it's a great movie, Getting Square. Don't miss it. See you next week, people.